Hello and welcome to another episode of me painting again. Oh yeah, we're painting again. And this time we're doing a different type of picture because we have the light on. Yep, we're not doing a dark one today, we're going to do a light one. So the white canvas is up, pre-made by me and gessoed by me. And so let's get this one started. So I had this idea of doing a river scene, and I've been walking up the rivers and trying to have a look and take pictures and think about it. I didn't have my sketchbook with me though, unfortunately, but I felt a bit brave. I thought I'm just going to go for it. So here we have some blue that I've made using some ultramarine blue and some white. And both these paints I've made with cold pressed linseed oil, and they're quite thinnish. They're quite soft, I'd say. So I can load my 2-inch brush with that paint and spread it out a bit. So just tapping the bristles. The canvas is dry at the moment. If you wanted to do it a different way, you could put some magic white or liquid white on the canvas and then add your blue afterwards. I'm just scrubbing on some blue straight away. It goes on okay, it doesn't go on as smoothly as if you have liquid white on. I found I like to experiment, try different methods, different ways of putting paint on the canvas, and I've started messing around with recipes as well, just to see what kind of effects different ingredients have on oil paints. Just a bit of a hobby of mine, enjoy it. I do find making the paints with just linseed oil and pigment makes a really nice paint. Get good quality pigments and good quality oil, get a good quality paint. That's what I've been making for myself, and it's been making my paintings better. And I think it makes them better because you think more about your colours when you're making your paints. I mean, in the old academies, that's what they would have the trainees doing. They would have them making paint. You do learn a lot. So yeah, so I'm just really scrubbing in here, scrubbing in paint on the canvas. There I'd put in a bit more ultramarine blue to get that stronger blue at the top. Using the old crisscross strokes, I've got a big drink again. Using the crisscross strokes, just letting that paint get on there. Oh, nearly lost my canvas again. Yeah, the thing is, what I do is I trap the canvas in front of the back of the easel, so there's nothing hitting it. All I need to do is put a piece of wood behind it, but I always forget, and I start painting and totally forget to do that. I was doing a painting earlier, came out quite well, but the sun came out while I was filming it and it went straight onto the canvas and the video footage won't work, so that's an episode I'll have to keep secret. But I am going to do a bit more on that painting because I quite like it. But I like this one came out really well. So I'm tapping into some more ultramarine blue darken the upper part. You see, you've got to put a bit more work in. If you don't use any magic white, liquid white, whatever, or your own homemade version of it. You've got to put a bit more work in to get that gradient of colour. But I'm trying not to use too much paint. I'm trying to keep it quite thin, and that way, when I put other paint on top of it, it won't affect things. I'm terrible at explaining things. So my original idea was to have a river running through the middle that gets wider as it gets closer, so it goes off into the distance, and I was going to have a path either side. And the reason I wanted to do this version is because it's an idea of where I used to walk. Sorry about the in and out focusing. I've got it on autofocus. But yeah, this is a this is a made up painting. It's just out of my head, this one. And it's based on a place that I've walked. It's just I've changed things using my memory. So I used to walk my dog Toby down this river, and he used to always think about how amazing it looked and how it could make an incredible painting. And actually, just tapping into some crimson, I thought, I know. I was going to go ahead and do a bit of a background hill, and then I thought, oh, I haven't put any clouds in. I meant to put some clouds in there. So I grabbed my fan brush, and I can create a few clouds. Yeah, back to what I was saying. This where this river is, I used to walk up and down there, and I used to think, oh, it'd be a great place to go out there with your paints and do paintings. I never actually did. I could go back and do it maybe. I've got a few paintings that I want to do locally outside that I want to try as well. But anyway, I was out there walking once, and there was a painter there, and he was painting the cathedral, and oh yeah, forget there's this cathedral there that you can see in the distance, and he was painting that, and I said, oh wow, that looks amazing. I'd like to try and paint that. And he said, yeah, I'd like to try as well, because I've made a right mess of this one. I was like, ooh. I know what that's like when you're trying to paint something and it all goes wrong. So I'm getting some blues, some crimsons. There's a bit of brown in there as well, and a bit of white. So I'm making a shadow colour for my clouds, and just creating like spinny strokes that sort of just go thinking little circles, and it mixes with the blue, but like I said, because there's not much sky colour on there, it doesn't really affect the colour of my cloud. I was thinking, do I want the cloud to be straight? Do I want there to be a bit of air in the cloud? Try to think like a cloud. I'm enjoying it. Loading my brush again, getting a bit more paint, and then some nice little wispy clouds or distant clouds, a bit smaller. Maybe there's a bigger cloud up the top. Nice little strokes. I'm just chucking the paint in there. There we go. And then I was thinking, right, I'll take some of the excess paint off with a wet wipe, I found that quite good actually. Cleaning your brush with a wet wipe, and then I usually use a paper towel after to get rid of that. And then you get a cleanish brush without needing to use any paint thinner or any terps or anything. And then you can clean your brush a little bit more with paint to make it the colour that you want. But anyway, with the 1-inch brush, just softening some of the clouds. Just lightly mixing it up. It doesn't really move that much. It's really a stain on the canvas, but this just softens it. Yeah, so my painting is being affected by my gouache painting. I've noticed recently that I stopped thinking in that way, because when you're painting outside, you're mixing your colours, and you always use a certain set of colours. I've started to bring that into this. So I've got some yellow ochre and white in my mixture. Yeah, and I start using the same colours, and you get used to your palette of colours. It's good to experiment with different colours. So I'm just thinking about the light hitting the clouds from above. Thinking about the sun hitting them. And I'm thinking maybe the light is coming from left to right slightly. So I'm just using little strokes. Your highlight colour will mix a little bit with the clouds. Oh, I've got hiccups again. So I just start spinning my brush here and there. Just putting little marks in, just for a bit of fun, really. Just makes it look less clean and exact. Then using the old 1-inch brush, just putting some air in there, lifting it up. Just lifting it. So this blends it a little bit, but I'm really light. Just softly going over it. Very soft, very light. If you use too much pressure, you'll end up just mixing it all away. So I've got some bit more blue, a bit more of the ultramarine blue, in with my red, in with my brown. That green on the corner, that's chromium oxide. I made that as well. I'm using that for a bit because I found out that Turner used to use it for that colour, so I thought I would give it a go, see what it's like. So I'm using the fan brush and just pulling this mountain out using that mixture. I've gone for a little bit of a lavendery colour to create the distance, because I don't want to make too much of a statement for this like little piece of land stuck out there. A hill or a mountain, who knows, it's quite far away. So I just wanted to just use a little bit of a colour that goes back. So I'm grabbing some of my white, soft white, just pulling that. Just using the white to pull it out because then I can create a bit of mist at the base. 1-inch brush again. I just checked it to see if it was clean enough. And then just pull this around, and it all mixed together. This hill's miles away, so it's not going to get much detail. Now you can even go over the whole thing, well, soften it completely. Blends into the sky a little bit then, because it's so far away it would be soft. It'd have a soft edge. There we go, it's nice and soft and far away, which is what I wanted. So back to the palette, and I'm getting some of the chromium oxide. You could use a sap green if you've got that, or a different green. It doesn't really matter. I'm just experimenting. Ivory black. Some chromium oxide, ivory black, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson. Just mixing it on my brush. It gives you kind of a greyish, a greenish greyish colour. I checked it. You give it a quick check on the canvas to see what it looks like. And I thought, yeah, I like it. So I'm just pulling down with the brush, just doing little trees. Nice little trees. And sometimes when you do this, when you're pulling down, it picks up some of the colour behind, and then it makes your treetop lighter, like it does in those trees. Don't fight those happy accidents, because it gives the forest a bit more distance, and you get some trees that are a bit lighter, and that works for us. Accidents like that happen, and they're good. So I'm going to put trees all the way along. So maybe there's a huge forest there before you get to those mountains or hills. This fan brush that I'm using, it's on its last legs. I think I've had it about... I might have had that fan brush for 10 years. I reckon I have. Because I bought a master set, and I think that was the fan brush that was in it. And that was when I first had a go at painting, and I remember making a right mess. It was the worst painting you've ever seen that I created. It was awful. It was a mess. I made every mistake a beginner can make, and some. And this was after trying out acrylics, and I couldn't use them either. Yeah, I'm not a gifted painter. Not everyone is gifted. So if you're not gifted, then you've just got to paint a lot. Just do a lot of paintings to get better. You've got to practice and practice and do loads of bad ones. As long as you're still learning and you're developing and you're getting more confident and you get better, and then that's all that matters, doesn't it? Something I realised, I'm just putting a little bit of white there and then a bit of colour for my mist, because I didn't want it to lose its colour, because if you just put white, it might have gone like that and just go a bit weird. So put colour as well. So a bit of mist. Just tapping away. Tap it. Don't tap your brush straight though, tap it upwards, because otherwise you get a straight line. And you don't want that. It needs to be all different sizes. Misty area. Yeah, so I painted a while with acrylics, and I made a few bad mistakes with acrylics. And I thought to myself, I've not got no talent here, I can't do this. And quite a few times I've given up and thought, wow, this isn't for me. And got frustrated that I'm not as good as Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, or Rembrandt. And I used to get annoyed that I'm not as good as those people. But these people, they're trained at academies and at like schools to get their mastership as a painter, and I've never been to anything like that. I'm still learning myself, and I'm trying to fathom out how to do things the way the masters did. And you've got to experiment to do that as well. Do things that you think is a good idea, and like you're making this idea up, and this method of painting that I'm doing now, I'm telling myself this is a new method. Never been done before. Obviously it has. This is blocking in. I'm blocking in the white with dark. Nothing new there really. But in my mind this is new. This is a new thing. Because it's using a dry canvas, blocking in this dark. It's with paints that I've made myself. It's a new thing for me. It's exciting. So I'm just tapping, thinking about the way I want water to be. I can get a bit more colour and scrubbing it on. One thing I've noticed about when you make your own paint, it's very opaque. The colours are very strong and you don't use as much because of that. You can get a really good solid colour without that much paint, because it's just pigment and oil. And you put loads of pigment in. Anyway, I won't bore you with that. Let's talk about painting. So on the fan brush, we're getting some more ultramarine blue, some chromium oxide, there's a bit of alizarin crimson in there, grab some more green, a bit more of the ultra, a bit more of the crimson, making a darker colour. Load the brush both sides, and then I can put in some trees. So you create a line. Apologies if you can't see this that well with my hand in the way. And the corner of the brush, just tap, push a little bit as you go down, and then push a bit harder as you come closer to the area that you want to plant it. So corner of the brush, tap, 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 tap. Easy, isn't it? You can do that, no problem, you can do that. Don't worry about your trees not being perfect. Their trees grow in all kinds of ways, and these weird looking trees that are not perfect, they look better to me. They give more interest. And then I would just tap in the dark here to push those trees back that are behind them trees, and then I can use this dark to make my lights. When I start putting the highlights, I can make them show up a bit more. Corner of the brush, tap, 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 tap. There we go, another tree right there. That's quite a big one, that tree. It's further back than the others, but it's bigger. It reminds me of this tree, actually, that I looked at the other day. It was massive. It was about, I reckon it was about 3 or 4 houses high, and it was an evergreen tree. It's huge. I like making those trees. They become fun, and you just keep making more. I almost was going to put some more in. I was like, I'm enjoying this. I think I'll put 10 trees in. Good practice for me. So I'm just tapping with the fan brush, getting some dark areas. And I thought, oh yeah, there's a good place for a tree. I'm enjoying doing these trees. I'll put one in there as well. Considering my original idea was to have 2 small trees, and that was it. I started putting our forest in this picture. So remember, corner of the brush, tappy tappy tap, tap tap. As you come down, tap harder. You can chuck up these trees well fast. They're fun, they're exciting. Who doesn't want to paint lots of trees? I love painting trees. I think being more of a landscape painter than anything else, I suppose. I do like doing portraits, to be fair. I go into a portrait spell every now and then, but I do like landscapes, and if you like landscape painting, you must like painting trees, mustn't you? It's part of your passion. If you don't like painting trees, I don't think you'd like landscape painting. So I just pulled all that down into the water, create some reflections. And then I thought, oh, that big tree needs a reflection. There we go, just pulling it down and then just giving it a wiggle. There we go. And then getting the big blob of dark in there, and then just pull that down to get rid of it. But there we go, so you get kind of a watery effect pretty quickly, really. I picked up a little bit of the white and blue then, I think. And just tapping in some more dark. Recently I've been hiding from someone who wants their dog painting. I don't want to do it. I really don't want to paint someone's dog at the moment. I'm enjoying myself being creative. I don't want to paint their dog, so I'm avoiding them. A good way, actually, to get rid of people that want you to do a painting for them is to put a huge price on it. They'll soon run away then. Will you paint my dog? Yeah, sure. Now I'm a famous artist, though, I'm going to have to charge £5,000. And actually, that's probably cheap to what some people charge. But I know for a fact that they would run away if I said that. But I know there's painters out there that charge way more than that. Unfortunately, not me. There we go. So I'm using the knife to just push out these lines to give the trees a bit more structure, a bit of a trunk. Makes them look a bit better, doesn't it? And then I put random lines here and there just to make it look like there's more. Grabbing a bit of brown on my brush. Just a bit of brown. What I'm thinking is the path. I need a place for my path, so I'll put that in. If you notice, what I'm doing is all the land at the moment is dark. There's no light yet. I'm holding back on the light. It's something I've started thinking about more and more, is to hold back on your light areas until you're ready, until you feel like you have a good idea ready for the light. And I'm starting to think like that. You don't have to do that, it's just something I'm starting to do now. And then you can, when you've got your dark in, then you can start thinking about, right, now I'm going to throw all my light in and make the painting come alive a bit. So that's just Van Dyke brown there. And thinking flat strokes, because it's where the land, where the path, the dirty path is. Then I started to think about the shape of this land that goes down into the water. Started to think about that. So I started putting in some brush strokes using this flat, just a flat brush that. Works good as a flat brush. I like these little flat brushes. They're only cheap brushes. I think they're Daily Rowney ones. So I'm getting some green, chromium oxide, a bit of cad yellow on the fan brush. And I thought, I'll blue it up a little bit as well, because this is for the highlights for the evergreen trees. So a little bit of the ultramarine blue in there as well. And a bit more of the yellow. I want it to show up, but I don't want it to be too bright. That's what I was thinking when I was mixing that. And then the light is coming this way. Coming from, I always do that now. I always think, where's the light coming from? Okay, it's coming from the left to the right. So then you've got to think when you put your highlights on, left to right. So just adding a bit of green there to that tree. It's quite subtle actually. It's not a huge difference, but it does make a difference. When there's a camera on, you start to think you should overdo it a little bit so you can see it. And I do think about that sometimes, but on this painting I thought I'll just paint and I'll pretend the camera's not on. And then I'll paint how I think and not have any thoughts of, oh, I need to do it brighter or darker because it won't pick up on the camera very well. I just painted and it worked out quite well. If you notice those trees, I left one of them with no highlights on because it's behind that other tree, and I thought, maybe it didn't get any light, so I'm leaving it. Works quite well when you do little things like that, little extra things. So I've got a bit of that blue. I'm making some space on my palette so I can start looking at putting light on there. So grab some of the green. Like I said, you could use sap green if you want. I just because I made that chromium oxide, I wanted to use it. And put some yellow in it, yellow ochre, bit of the blue, bit of the blue. I'm sort of making multiple colours there. So I've made a light one look and another bit darker, and I'm making it so I can just tap into it. That's why I flattened it out with a knife. While I was mixing my grass, I started to think, oh, I haven't put a bridge in it yet, because I wanted to do this flat bridge, but it's not there yet. So I'm just tapping with the fan brush some of this grass. Yeah, it's tapping. Leave some of the dark areas just to stay dark, and then it gives you a bit more depth and something different in the painting. If you just block it in one colour, it'll look a bit boring. That's why you have dark and light and changes in colour, and you can throw in a bit more yellow ochre or a little bit of red in your colour, or a bit more blue. It's up to you, whatever effect you want to create. Just thinking about that land that comes across there. This would be a nice place to walk. I'd like to go for a walk down this river. It looks good. So I'm just tapping in some grass for that side as well. Don't want to not have grass there. Just keep that the same. And then I thought, oh, we'll have a bit of reflected grass. So I just pulled that into the water. You make these little decisions as you're painting. You could choose whether this water is flowing quickly down here, or you could have it still. I started to think that there was a path going towards those trees as well when I was doing that. Now I'm using the knife to start putting in some water lines. And then I thought, oh, that tree needs a reflection because it's stuck right there. So I thought I'd just wiggle some colour in there and then pull some of this down into the water, pull it down. tap in a bit more grass. Just tapping in some grass. And I keep sitting back, having a look at the whole painting. Always sitting back, having a look. Getting some of this blue into this white. And then I put white into the blue. And then get it on top of the knife. And then think about the water and the land meeting. I actually put too much paint on my knife. I think it's best to be really subtle when you do this as well, because at the end part of where the line is, I really like it, but that looks a bit too much to me. I don't know. Any problem is when you put a line there, it's a bit awkward when you want to change it, as you will see. Probably would have been okay. It's just you start getting a bit funny. Well, I do anyway. I start looking at it and going, no, I don't like it now. I'm going to change it. So I thought, right, I'm putting some dark in. And look at that. It's making a right mess. What I should have done is just got my knife and gone whoosh, and pulled all that off. But I ended up doing this. Different type of fix. So I'm picking up a bit more blue on the brush and putting it back in. See. That line to me was just too thick. It was too strong, and my eye was going to it. I didn't want it to be, so I changed it. And it's okay to do that, and it's okay to leave your painting when you get to a point where you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. Something's not right. Maybe you should go and have a cup of tea and come back to it. Have a think. So originally I was going to have a flat bridge here, because down this river where I used to walk a lot, there was a flat, really old bridge. It was half knackered, to be honest. And that's what I thought about doing. So I'm just using a knife with some brown. There's a little bit of blue in the mix. And I started to put in this bridge. And then I started to get creative. As we painters do. We start wanting to make it our own. So I started to get more paint. I thought, why is this bridge, instead of flat, it was rounded, and it went round instead. And I start building it up more. I mean, you could have stopped there. I could have stopped there, but I keep going. Started to think, oh well, there we know. You get like under a bridge, you always get like a shadow underneath, and then you get a reflection as well. And I find in that area where there's that sort of shadowed area, you get a lot of little fish hiding in amongst it. It's interesting. There was one time actually, and I was out walking, and I went beyond the bridge. There's this bridge that I used to walk across, not down this area, in a different area. and there was this great big pike in the water. It was massive. I was a little bit surprised to see it and to see how big it was as well. Here we go. Starting to get more brave now, making this bridge feel like it's made of brick or stone. Looks a bit like it's stone. It's getting a bit more rounded. Going for it a little bit more. I gotta admit, when I was painting this bridge, I was starting to think I'm messing this up. I started to think, oh no, what am I doing? And I thought, oh well, don't panic, just give it a little highlight. Give it a little highlight with some of this yellow ochre, and then we can work it out because we can see it better. And I'm just pulling that into the brown, giving it a bit more texture for this bridge. And then I was thinking to myself, it's got rails, because this one that I walked across, it had rails, but they were broken. So I thought I'll do that effect, use that yellowy colour, and I'll put in a few rails. Like this bridge was once really well made, and then it broke, and then it was mended a little bit, and then it's broken again, and it's just been left. And that's what that bridge looks like. It's like it's been, like the farmer had just used whatever he had, and he sort of fixed it a bit. So I didn't sit far back enough and look at this to see what it looks like. Because when I do, I realise the shadow underneath, the reflection and everything, it's all starting to look a bit weird. And that happens when you're painting and you're up close all the time. You need to get back and have a look at it. You need to sit back and have a look. Some people paint at arm's length, and they're always pulling their chair quite far back to look. And it's a good idea to keep doing to do stuff like that, because you do need the distance to see. And if you get stuck somewhere, think, oh well, we'll come back to that. And that's what I thought. I'm getting bogged down with that bridge. We'll put a bit of light hitting this grass, and then we'll come back to it. So using this a brighter yellow. It's still quite dull really, but it's brighter than what was on. We'll start having some light hitting some of these areas. I'm using the roundness of the fan brush and just following areas to wherever I want this grassy bit to be, and just put it in. Just letting the canvas take what it wants really. And have fun with it, have fun. Get that painter's smile going. You want to use that as much as you can, because you don't want to have the oh my goodness, I can't paint this, it's not working smile, which looks more like a grimace. We all do that, and we've got to tell ourselves we're going to do something amazing again. Always got to tell yourself you're going to do something amazing, and then we get that painter's smile back and we're off again. Whenever I'm struggling on a painting, I pick something easy like the grass and I'll do that, and it'll make me feel good, and then I'm revitalized to try and work on some of the harder bits. When I was doing this painting of this crowd, and it was at this it was a boxing match scene, and I was doing this painting for somebody, and I started to get a little bit annoyed with one of the faces. One of the faces of the boxers, I just couldn't get it right. I kept doing it, and I just couldn't get the likeness right. So I thought, you know what, I'm leaving it, because I'm getting bogged down with that face. And I left it, and I started painting the ropes instead. Because you can't really go wrong painting the ropes. So I started doing that. And then the next day, I thought, I think I've got an idea on how I can paint that face and get a good likeness. I'll cut out the picture of the person and put it right next to it when I paint it. And I did that, and I got really close to the picture, and then I let it dry, and then I did it another day, and it was done. And I was happy, because I needed time to think, time away from it. Time, do something easy. That's a good tip. Do something easy when you're struggling with something, and then come back to it. Not sure if that's a tip or not, but it works. It works for me. So I'm getting some more light here. I'm just going to highlight these. It didn't stick. I was like, why didn't that stick? So I thought, oh well, I'll use the liner. Sometimes a brush is better anyway. The brush, you can be a bit more controlled than you can with a knife. I find myself. Sometimes a brush is the best option. So I'm just putting a bit of highlight on there where the sun's hitting. We want this bridge to be seen. We want it to be kind of a focal point, this whole bridge. Just give it a bit of a reflection. We're still unsure about the reflection. We know it's wrong, but we're not sure what's wrong. So I'm grabbing a bit more of the light, a bit more for the this land here. So I've gone from a dark to a lighter grass, and then to another even lighter for another change in areas, so little spots of light. And it gives the landscape a bit of interest, because there's changes. If you have it, like I said before, if you have it all the same, it can tend to look a bit boring, and you want changes. When you're being creative, if you're painting, mixing up some orangey red, orangey reddy brown. Oh, it's for the path. I thought we'll get a bit of colour in the path. Yeah, if you're doing a portrait, or if you're doing a commission for somebody, then obviously you can't do as much as that. You've got to just go with it. Generally, you're going to have to paint what the photo is, and whatever the photo information's on the photo, that's it. You've got to do that. But if you're being creative like this, then you can mess around and enjoy yourself and do whatever you like. I find this is the best form of painting, when you let loose and free and enjoying yourself. I mean, I do like doing strict paintings where you're copying something, I suppose, as well. But this I really enjoy. It's different, isn't it? So I thought I'll add a bit of light to this tree, thinking the light's going to hit that one side. So I thought I'll add a bit more light to it. Just a little bit. Just a little bit of that. Then I wanted to darken that area there, thinking the light is hitting that side so we can have a bit of shadow there. And down here, there's probably not much light hitting, I thought, so we'll have a bit of dark there. See, when you're designing your own paintings, you've got to think of things like that. There's quite a lot to think about. And I know I've said it before, one of the best things to learn how to design your own worlds is to paint the real world. It does make you better. I mean, you can't not really. I suppose when you look at it, well, this is awkward to watch. Watching me mess this bridge up. Yeah, if you think any type of practice is good, if you're practicing painting using photos, or if you're practicing painting out there in the wild, as I call it, should really be called wild painting, because you're painting in the wild. And yeah, if you're doing that, then you're going to get better. I think if you're not getting better, you're probably staying in your comfort zone, doing your normal thing. And I'm a big fan of pushing myself, trying to always improve. So I thought it'd be good for this bridge to be stood on these legs. Give this bridge some legs to stand on. Then I put a bit of dark underneath there with the knife again. I thought I'd build that bit up there because that didn't look right there. And if you're following along and you want to do a bridge as well, do a bridge the way you want to do it. You don't have to do it the same as this. You could do a different type of bridge. You could do a flat bridge like I originally was going to do, or you could do a rounded one like a Monet sort of bridge. Do whatever you like. These paintings I do are really for they serve for two purposes. One, practice for me, because I need all the practice I can get, and the second is really so you can see how paintings are created, and then you can create your own, and create your own better, and create your own designs, and just shows you how you can do it, and then you can do some unbelievable things. Because if I went back in time to me when I first started painting, and I said I'll be able to paint a painting like this that I'm working on now, I would have been pretty happy. I would have been like, really? I'll be able to paint that? That would be great if I can do something like that. Because at the moment, I can't paint anything. So I started to put a few water lines in there to give me an idea of this, why isn't this working? And then I sat back, had a look, and I was like, well, that's not right. The reflection isn't right. So I thought I'll go again. Pick up some white and blue as well, so we can go over the old reflection. If you can do that, there's always a fix with oil paints. That's really why I like them a lot. Oh, oh dear. Just put in the blob of... Always make sure your brush is clean when you do that. Otherwise that happens. And put that shadow, that reflection, sorry, back in as well. Then a bit more of that light, white and blue again in there. Just pulling like straight strokes out then. Just using the knife to create water lines. Yeah, another thing that I always think is to give yourself time to get better at painting. Don't expect when you first do a painting that you're going to do something brilliant. If you do, then you're way better than I am, and it could happen. But if you give yourself a chance to learn painting, then you probably will get to a point where you're doing brilliant paintings and people will want them on their wall. And you need to, if you're the first start, you need to give yourself that chance. Give yourself time. I'm still giving myself time, and I still want to be as good as a Rembrandt or a Munnings. I'm a big fan of Munnings. He's done some fantastic paintings. So I'm just putting some little lines of dark in there. And sometimes in the water when it's rippling and stuff, you get like light reflected lines. Can't explain that very well. And then a little bit of more light there. You can get a thicker paint and just plonk it on top of thin paint like that. Get rid of your errors. It's when you've got a thick paint on, you can't do that. That's when you've got to whip it off with a knife. So there's always a fix. There's always a fix. So I'm just pulling these little bits of white out. Now I keep sitting back, having a look, coming forward, doing a bit more, sitting back, and then I'm like, what else can I do to make this better? And I start doing a bit more. You could go on for hours, and why not? Why not? Why not do your painting, get it to a point, let it dry, come back at it, do some more. All you need to do if you're using oil paints is use a little bit more oil in your paint for the next layer. So you could stop, let it dry, put a little bit of oil in your paint, just a touch more linseed oil, only a little bit, and then you can get going again. Make changes, do whatever you like. And it's great that you can do that. I do love oil paints, I have to say. They're just so good. You can do so much with them that you can't do with a lot of the others. Even gouache that I use, that has limitations that oils don't have. The nearest thing is probably acrylics and tempera. But to me, personally anyway, I just really like using oil paints. They just have that nice smooth texture, and I just really enjoy them. I'd really want to put a bush in front of that bridge on the right side. Hide that error there. I'm just using the liner, just flicking some grass bits in. It's amazing what you see when you're watching it. You start seeing things that you could do, and when it's dry, I can do that. I can start doing extra things, making it a little bit better. But for now, I thought I'll just add some little birds in. Some little birds. When I was out walking the other day, there was tons of birds in the sky. Loads of them. So I thought, oh, I'll do that. And you can indicate loads of birds by just putting dots in the sky, and then having a few bigger ones at the front, like that. And then it looks like there's a whole flock of them. Well, there's the finished painting, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope it will give you some ideas, and you could do something fantastic. So thanks very much for watching this one, and I'll see you at another one. Cheers, bye.